What is going on? And welcome on in, everybody. Inside the Browns beat. It's Wednesday. It's a beautiful winter night. It is December, and we've got a great show planned for you. I'm Michael Keefe. He is Fred Greetham. A little bit later in the show, we are going to be joined by the radio voice of the Cleveland Browns, Andrew Siciliano, to talk all things Cleveland Browns. So we are very glad you're here with us tonight inside the Browns beat, as we have got a lot to get to. Obviously, we'll kick things off by talking about the Browns lost to the 49ers and, man, all the self-inflicted wounds they had in that game. Then we will bring in Andrew to talk about some news of the week, and there's been a little bit of news this week, and we will look ahead to a Browns-Titans game that is just circled on the NFL schedule. Two of the heavy hitters, the Browns and the Titans, going at it this week, and we'll break it all down. So now we're really glad you're here on the OBR streaming network. Remember that the Orange and Brown Report is Cleveland's oldest and largest independent Browns coverage site. So get over to the OBR.com. Make sure you hit subscribe and become a part of the best Browns community in Cleveland. And you do that now. And if you're watching us on YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're watching us, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like, and all that fun stuff so that you are tuned in to everything OBR as this Browns season continues. Fred Greetham, we got to talk about a Browns win last time. That was fun. Can't get to it. There's no way we're getting two in a row, though. This was just fun new ways to lose football games, wasn't it, Fred? Never a surprise.
It was. I've talked about it all year. The fragility of the Browns, and if something goes wrong, it just seems to snowball. I mean, all you have to do is point to that punt after the defense or the offense stalled. You know, when it could have been a 66-yard touchdown pass. Jerry Jeudy was wide open, probably 5 to 10 yards behind the defensive back. And whether it was the wind or Shedeur Sanders just sailed it, he threw it over his head out of reach. Now, the question is, would Jerry have caught it? But assuming he would have caught it, it'd been a 66-yard touchdown. Browns would have had a 7-point lead. It might have been a different game.
Right.
But anyway, they punted, and we know what happened. 66-yard punt return by Sky Moore to the Browns 16. It still took the 49ers 6 plays to get into the end zone, thanks to the Browns defense, but they did get a touchdown. Browns are down 7-0. And to their credit, they did erase that deficit and actually took a lead 8-7 when they went for 2 before the half. 39 seconds to go in the half, they kick off, and the Browns defense does give up a 58-yard drive, and the 49ers took back the momentum and the lead 10-8 at halftime. But that was really the only drive that I would blame the defense. As you mentioned, breakdowns on the punt team, that big long return, fumbled punt, fumble on 4th down, or turnover on downs, whatever you want. 4 times the defense was put in a short field situation, and 23 of the 26 49er points came off of those short fields. So, yeah, again, you can always point to woulda, shoulda, couldas, but, you know, the defense seems to play well enough. It's just the rest of the team, the special teams or the offense, cannot do anything when it's needed.
Well, you know, Fred, we'll kind of take it group by group, but I think it's only appropriate for this game. And you broke it down beautifully there. But I think it's only appropriate for this show. And by the way, if you're joining us live, welcome on in. The comments already, the frustrations already getting vented out there. Shout out to Andrew, says, good evening, Fred and Mike. Shout out to Chef Brian K. Evening, Mike and Fred. I've seen Drew, Tie Socks, all the group in there. So if you're joining us live here tonight, welcome on in. Just stay in the comments. We can be a little bit salty if you want to, but certainly keep going, and we'll put some good comments up on the screen as we go. Fred, we'd be remiss if we didn't start by talking about the special teams because, and again, I think it's appropriate on this show. I spent the first part of the game driving around in the car with my family, so we had to pick up our Christmas tree, and so we I had the game on the radio. I was listening to our special guest who's going to be here either right at or just after 7:30, Andrew Siciliano, and our good buddy Nathan Zagura calling the game. And I got to tell you, I've never felt more a part of a broadcast, I don't think, than after the Browns gave up that punt return. After, the offense stalls out, that is what it is. But they give up that 66-yard punt return. And the incredulousness, I don't know if anybody else was listening to the radio broadcast, but the frustration was so apparent on Nathan Zagura's voice. And you don't hear it too much, obviously, from the hometown radio guys, but Nathan just pleading with the Browns to just figure it out. Like, it's not that hard. And the Browns just make special teams right now look impossible. And again, it's something we've talked about, Fred. We were all very excited when they hired Bubba Ventrone. We thought this was going to be, again, not just a guy that's played for the Browns, but a guy that has built a reputation for himself as a special teams kind of whiz. And we thought they were going to build up this really good special teams unit. And it has been so bad that you're giving up these punt returns on a regular basis. We're getting bad punts on a regular basis. They are just making mistake after mistake after mistake. You've got Gage Larvidan later in the game muffing the punt when you're still in a close game and just giving the ball to San Francisco deep inside Browns territory. Fred, this should be, nothing's easy in the NFL, but this should be a basic, we cover punts. Maybe every once in a while somebody gets a big return, but it feels like it's just game after game after game. This special teams unit, and frankly, the coaching staff, they just can't figure it out. They cannot figure it out.
I don't know why they don't just punt it out of bounds, to be honest. I mean, they've given up a ton of, you can't do that with a kickoff because you get, well, you could, I guess, but they get the ball on the 40. I guess it might not, but it's mostly been on the punt returns, and you look at it, it just jump starts the other team, The Browns did have one punt return. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. Larverdane had a good one. It jump started them. But it's so many times the other way going, the Browns punt return or punt coverage just doesn't get it done, as you said. And it is, I'm like wondering, why don't you just, if you're not confident, you can pin them back, just punt it out of bounds at an angle. So, they take over inside their 20 somewhere, not even give them a chance to make a return, because it just seems like I don't even know what the risk is at this point, because the odds are somebody's going to break a tackle and go a long distance and set it up. I mean, more easily could have scored. And I think that would set an NFL record for them. The next time there's a punt or a kick return, I think would be the 5th in this season, which is an NFL record, and that's disastrous, especially when a team is offensively challenged. You got great defense. You just can't have special teams be, as abhorrent as the offense is.
Well, and it's easy to pick out the disastrous plays, right? The big punt return by Sky Moore, who at least there was a little effort shown there out of Whiteheart, out of Bajorquez to at least slow him up a little bit so he didn't take it for a touchdown. It's easy to call out Larvidan for muffing a punt way deep inside Browns territory and giving the defense no shot. But it's other stuff too, Fred. It's Corey Bajorquez has been pretty good here. I think he's been pretty reliable. He's been a good part of the special teams. I don't know. I feel like every time they have a chance to flip the field and pin the other team deep, you're talking about punting out of bounds. But at the same time, it feels like all he does is kick the ball into the end zone. Like if they get the ball out near midfield, he cannot stop himself from just booting the ball into the end zone. And it may not seem like that big of a deal when your team is adept at giving up 60, 70, 80-yard returns. It's like, oh, well, whatever. It's better that it's a touchback than anything else. But like that's the difference in good teams. Good teams have punters that can go out there and either angle a kick out of bounds or deaden a ball inside the 20-yard line. It's why it's a stat that they keep. So that teams don't have good field position and it puts the pressure. And the Browns just can't do it. It really is. It's so multifaceted with the special teams that I don't know that there's a way Bubba Ventrone survives this. I don't know how he does.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't let go of Stefanski, as far as the coaches, not talking about Andrew Berry, that's another topic. But if you decide to keep Kevin Stefanski, somebody's got to go as far as at least a scapegoat. Last year you were 3-14, and there really wasn't, a change at all. It's usually somebody's head roll. I mean, Kevin Stefanski 6-23 the last 2 years, with 5 games to go. That's not too many coaches survive that. But you get the sense that he's going to survive it, at least the way he's coaching these games. And he doesn't seem to be like they're in a sense of urgency, but his even keeledness, doesn't let on. But as far as Ventrone, I don't know. You keep hearing him getting interviews or going to have interviews for head coaching. I'm like, okay, I know the players make the plays, but it seems like you were mentioning that the coaches scheme what they have. Okay, if I don't have a team that can make the plays, we'll kick it out of bounds or whatever. It drives me crazy when the Browns don't go for it and they're on the opponent 40 or in the 30 and they kick it and he kicks it in the end zone. It's like a 10-yard punt because they get it on the 20.
Right.
So, that might be part of the reason why they keep going for it. But as far as, I don't know. I don't know, how Ventrone survives this unless something radically changes in the last 5 games. But you can already point, I haven't went through, but you could literally look at, their 3-12 record and point to, I can off the top of my head think of 3 or 4 games where special teams was brutal in a loss. I mean, the easy one is the missed field goal kicks to start the season, extra point and field goal. But then the punt return, for a touchdown, the long punt returns to set up, a block punt, fumbled punts. I mean, the ledger bad versus good is almost, the scale doesn't get off the ground.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring this comment up from Ty Sox because they did interview, and I don't know if you were standing around when they did this, but Grant Delpit was asked about this because he plays a good bit of special teams, about punt coverage, and he referred to effort, which, again, Ty Sox says it would imply it isn't coaching but the players, but it's got to be, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, it can't be, I got to tell you, it can't be such a systemic issue and not have it at least be a little bit on coaching, right? Like, this is an issue every week in and week out. And listen, maybe you're not going to have the world's greatest special teams, Fred. Maybe you're not going to have, I almost said Justin Tucker, but he's not a good example anymore, but like prime Justin Tucker out there and the best punter in the league and the best return. You're not going to have Dante Hall out there and Josh Cribbs, but your special teams cannot lose you football games. And that's what the Browns special teams, I think in this game, this was not the level of play in this game when it was offense versus defense and defense versus offense was not as spread out as the final score would indicate. But the special teams in this game legitimately was, I think, the biggest contributing factor to the loss for the Cleveland Browns. And that can never happen. That can never happen. There's never a time where special teams should lose you a game. But the Browns just find ways to keep doing it, Fred.
Yeah, it's special teams used to be kind of when you went out and got something from the refrigerator because it was kicking it out of the end zone and there's a commercial, or it's something insignificant part of the game, but they've turned it into must-watch TV or must-close-your-eyes TV because so many things go wrong. with it. Now, Grant Delpit, I was there. He said what it is, it's a breakdown by one player, and you have assigned lines. Pretty much one guy misses, that's, breaks, with the idea on the kickoff is moving it up. And same way with the punt return. Everybody's got a lane. Somebody gets out of lane or gets blocked or misses the tackle. It's off to the races. And I think that's what he was trying to say. But yeah, there still is coaching involved. And it's like, you see the other teams, swing and make the tide change on special teams with a big block kick or a block punt. Or one thing that always comes to mind with the Steelers, seems like they can have a lousy offense, but if the defense doesn't make the play, they block a field goal or they block a punt or something to turn a game late around. And you just don't see that very often with the Browns, if any.
So take it away from special teams, Fred, and let's go to the offensive side of the football, where I'll give you my opinion, then I want to hear yours. I again, the second week in a row, I did not hate the approach offensively by the Cleveland Browns. They really wanted to establish the run, and they did. Quinshon Judkins ran the ball angry. I think he was really productive running the football. They ran for a decent amount of yards on the ground. I felt like they were constantly ahead of the sticks offensively, right? That might be the best first down offense that I've seen out of the Browns in 2 years. They were constantly ripping off 4, 5, 6 yards, which I know that doesn't sound like much, but for the Browns to be constantly putting yourself in 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4 makes life much easier for a rookie quarterback and the other guys. I thought Shedeur did a lot of good things in this game. I thought he did some bad things. Again, the issue with Shedeur is he never takes a 3-yard sack. It's always like a 12-yard sack, and that is a problem. But I thought he made some really nice throws. And again, Fred, I think offensively, they did an okay job maintaining some possessions. And no, they didn't get into the end zone outside of the pass to Fannin. And no, they didn't, they didn't put up a bunch of points. Two of their possessions ended on Quinshon Judkins getting stuffed on 4th down. I didn't mind the play, though. Like, it just is what it is. San Francisco made a good play. And the Harold Fannin fumble, which, like, we'd have a conversation on whether you should be putting a tight end under center in a 4th and 1 situation when he's not used to taking snaps under center. But, like, I don't walk away from this game going, oh, the offense looked as bad as ever. I don't think they did. I think they picked up a decent amount of first downs. They were able to move the ball a little bit. They were continuously getting out and kind of sustaining some drives, which gets the defense a little bit of rest. Again, it doesn't help when you get to fit the 50 or the 45 and your punter boots it into the end zone. But I don't know. Your impressions just – I know it's not a high-flying, high-powered offense, but we're looking for a little progress here, and I feel like I saw a little bit of progress out of the offense.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, as far as I like Tommy Reese is learning. You can see him. I think he's doing a good job. I don't think Judkins is the problem. I think he's going to be a long-term answer here. I don't know if he'll be quite as good as Nick Chubb, but I think he has a chance to be in that conversation. But Sampson as well. I mean, use him right, you could have a good 1-2 punch for a long time. The problem it still seems to me is the receiving core. If they are getting open, the quarterback's not hitting them. I did see some plays where Judy was open and Sanders missed him. Your offensive line keeps, they're shuffling in. Conklin got hurt. Teller got hurt and he was being rotated. Posick got hurt. You had Whippler out there. So you had at least 8 different offensive linemen. He did get sacked 3 times. But the way this team is set up, they really need to dictate on offense and play with a lead or close. When they took the lead, that put them back in control. But then when they made those mistakes, fumbled the punt, went for it on 4th down, that was a glaring one because I think it was 10-8 when they turned the ball over on downs. and then you got behind, and then Sanders' weakness is those bad sacks. And he only had one bad sack in the first 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, when they got behind, the 49ers just turned loose and went after him. They sacked him twice for big losses. And again, that's because the Browns let the game get away from them with their mistakes. You know, Dylan Gabriel was playing very scared because it's being drummed into him. You can't turn the ball over. Nobody ever seems to question Kevin Stefanski. Turned the ball over 4 times on downs. That's like a turnover, you know, in your own territory when you're ahead 10-8 on the 32. Okay. I realized he felt like it's a good play to get the first down, but if, you know, they had to make a late substitution, I don't know why you didn't call a timeout. You know,
Right.
just think it over, because that turned into a touchdown instead of 10-8, 17-8, and then you're playing catch up the rest of the way. But turning the ball over on downs, you know, is never a good thing. And I don't know if they get too fancy, but on that 4th and 1, what has been working the last 2 games? A direct snap to Quinshon Judkins in the Wildcat.
Right.
Has been good for 3 yards or an extra point every time they've done it. And yet they tried to run the old Harrison Bryant tight end, you know, tush push or whatever with Harold Fannin. And he said he played quarterback like in junior high, but it's a little different between junior high and at the NFL level in that situation.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree. I don't, when you're in 4th and 1, there's very rarely going to be times in 4th and 1 that I'm going to be mad at a coach for going for it. And I really don't care where it is on the field outside of certain circumstances. But again, just the call, I know you're trying to do something different. I know you practice these things, but maybe that's not the time, you know, on your side of the field. Maybe that's not the time to put your tight end that doesn't really take snaps from under center. Maybe it's just not the time. I don't mind at all. Again, the play call on 4th down, but you're right, Fred. On 4th and 1, you got to have a good success rate on those. Most of the time, the Browns usually do, and you wouldn't imagine it, but usually the Browns are pretty good on 4th downs. But in this game, man, San Francisco was all over them, and they either again forced themselves into mistakes, or they did not convert. I also agree with what you said, though, Fred. I mean, it just somebody's got it. There's got to be somebody in the wide receiver room that wants to make a play. And maybe it was Jerry Jeudy this week. You saw the passion out of Jerry Jeudy. We'll talk about that a little bit when Andrew Siciliano gets here. You saw the frustration. He did have that play where he was wide open, but somebody in the wide receiver room has to want to get out there and make some big things happen for the offense, because it just doesn't feel like anybody's really doing it. Then it takes us over to the defensive side of the ball. And Fred, this is the thing that stood out to me. I think the Browns defense was really good in this game. I think they made life difficult on Christian McCaffrey. I think they made life difficult on Brock Purdy. Once again, Carson Schwarzenegger's all over the place. Myles Garrett gets his 19th sack of the year. But this is the thing that stands out to me, Fred. The San Francisco 49ers scored 3 touchdowns in this game. And on the 3 touchdown drives that they scored, the yardage of those 3 drives adds up to about 50. For 3 drives that resulted in touchdowns. The Browns did not give up any long drives that resulted in touchdowns defensively. Yeah, maybe they let them get down there and get a field goal or whatever, but they never gave up a long drive for a touchdown. Instead, we were talking about an 18-yard drive for a touchdown, a 14-yard drive for a touchdown, a 30-yard, you know what I mean? Like, it just, those mistakes, it was reminiscent of that first Ravens game where they just made mistake after mistake after mistake, Fred. And you just can't give a team like San Francisco or Baltimore, or really most NFL teams, you can't give them the ball at the 14-yard line and be like, well, hopefully they don't score. Most of them are going to score. And that is what the 49ers did. The Browns, with all their other mistakes, just made it too easy. And once again, they sabotaged their own defense, Fred.
Well, that's what I said earlier. 23 of the 26 points were attributed to that. The long punt return was a 16-yard drive. The second touchdown was a 32-yard drive. The third touchdown was an 18-yard drive after the muff fumble. And then, they went on downs again. You had a 42. So that one resulted in a field goal. But the only time the defense really fell short was in the hurry up. Kind of like with the Vikings 80-yard drive. The hurry up, they went the length of the field and got a field goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's frustrating. The defense is playing well enough. You look at the final scores, 26-8. It's like the 41-17 Ravens game. It's the special teams breakdowns, turnover breakdowns that are resulting, in these points. And when you give up 23 points on your side of the field, that's a disaster recipe to lose the game. So that's what I think everybody's frustrated about. You can see it. You got a winning defense. No, I don't think they're the second coming of the 1985 Chicago Bears, but they play well enough to win almost every game. If a legitimate offense would score over the NFL average, I think, is 22 points. You just take 22, 23 points every week, you probably would win most of your games. That's just the way it is, the way the defense is playing.
Obviously, I think at this point, watching the Cleveland Browns, the most enjoyable thing to watch about the Cleveland Browns is this chase to history by Myles Garrett. Again, the NFL record is 22 and a half sacks in a season, and Myles is now at 19. That sack, Fred, might have been his best of the season. And that is saying something. But you're going up against a premier left tackle in San Francisco, and he made one little step to the right, and it's like he teleported to the left, and he was right in Brock Purdy's face. The look on the entire offensive line's faces after that sack told the story, because you could kind of see him in the background like, what do you do against that? What do you do against this guy? His chase has been one of the most fun parts of this whole season.
Yeah, it's kind of like the home run title. That'll be the one thing that will be watched, I think, as it gets close. You'll have the networks, if could even be this Sunday. Cam Ward's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. I think he's been sacked 48 times. Can you imagine if Myles gets 3 and, in the first 3 quarters or something, every time third down, they might be cutting in, to get a replay of the Myles Garrett chasing the record. You'd like him to do it, because then you go on the road to the Bears before you come back. I think it's a golden opportunity. The Titans might put 3 guys on him just to try to prevent that from happening on their watch this week.
Yeah, I think between Myles, again, Carson Schlesinger stood out again, just all over the field. I don't know that anybody's going to have an argument against him being the defensive rookie of the year, and maybe more than that. But here's the other thing, and this was a wild thing to me, because this is a guy that I've actually gotten a chance to talk to a little bit. We've had him on Garage Beers, which, by the way, that's coming up at 9:00. Shameless plug here as we get about halfway through the show. And I do want to remind you, Andrew Siciliano will be on here with us very shortly. He's wrapping something up for the Browns, and then he's jumping on, so we don't know exactly what time he'll pop in, but when he gets here, we'll bring him in. But did you see the fired up Shelby Harris comments? Because Shelby Harris is a pretty fun dude. And he's a pretty laid back dude. He's funny. He's a dad. He's a really nice guy. And Jawan Jennings, the wide receiver for the 49ers, got Shelby Harris fired up. If you didn't see the comments or the video of him, Shelby was very upset. Do you have any insight on what was getting said out there that had Shelby Harris so fired up?
I did, and I didn't hear them mic'd up like you had some comments with been nice with the George Kittle and Myles and stuff like that, the nice things. But Jennings has a reputation of mouthing off, and I haven't heard. I just heard Garrett talk about it, and nobody really pushed, specifics, what was being said. But obviously, it wasn't nice to get under the skin of Harris and Garrett and these guys.
When I heard Shelby Harris going off, I'm used to Shelby Harris, big smile on his face, laughing about stuff, even through hard times. I saw him going, I was like, wait a minute.
I think it's with Malik Collins laying there going to get cart off, and Jennings is going off on things, and
yeah,
they didn't like it at all.
Well, and again, obviously frustration's built in. They don't like it. They don't like losing, but they drop another one. Listen, so it's time to look at a little bit of the news of the week. It's time to look forward towards the upcoming game against the Tennessee Titans. Browns fans should be fairly excited because this is an opportunity for the Browns. But in order to do that, we got to bring in our special guest, and I see him in the background here. He is a guy that, in my opinion, as somebody who's been in broadcasting at one point, had the world's greatest job because he used to be the host of the Red Zone channel on the NFL Network, which is just the world's greatest thing that ever happened. And then he got like the next greatest job because now he is the radio voice of the Cleveland Browns. We're going to bring him in right now. Andrew Siciliano, welcome inside the Browns beat.
You guys are way too kind. How are we? How are we doing? Thanks for being patient for me. Here,
we're talking about the Browns, Andrew, so we're doing as well as we can be. We're doing as well as we can.
Hey, it's another week, and I'm not going to, this is for recreational purposes only. They should win this game, right? Right?
Yep, absolutely.
Just like the Jets game.
This one's at home? Yeah. But I hear you.
Hey, Andrew, appreciate you coming on. Right, we like, a lot of the people know, they see you on TV, hear you on the radio. We like to talk a little bit about getting to know the person a little bit. I know you grew up a Browns fan. I wanted to just tell you, like, this is fun for me because I wanted to be a play-by-play guy. Mike's calling the state championship game on radio this week. Amazing. For Avon High School. He's Northeast Ohio, one of the voices. You're the voice of the Browns. I was the statistician for your three predecessors, going back to Nev Chandler, then Casey Coleman, and then Jim Donovan before the switch from WTAM came over to where it is now with 850 and 92 The Fan. I'm the backup, but they haven't got to me, since you've taken over. But as far as
I call for it.
So this is fun for me. You got to know Jim Donovan a little bit. Would you just talk about what it is? I know you don't like the circumstance getting the position, but just, what an honor it is and, be in this position.
It's beyond an honor, and yeah, that's something you and I have talked about. It's something that I've said a lot before. The circumstances were awful. You never want that call, and I have people telling me all the time. That actually happened last weekend. Walking home from dinner, somebody said to me, "Hey, I really miss Jim," and I said, "You know what? So do I. I really do too. Total truth there. There isn't a call." And I really do mean this. There isn't a call or a play during a Browns game where, when I listen back, to me doing it, saying, "Man, I really wish I could have heard Jim doing it as well," because he was the best. So I used to get chills listening to Jim's calls. I would do my show on DirecTV, and I would drive home, and I'm listening to Sirius XM NFL radio on the way home. At that point, usually the late 4:00 window games are gone, and you're in that little window there before they kick off on the Sunday night game at 8:00, and they're playing the highlights. And I would drive home hoping to hear whatever Jim's calls were. Hopefully the Browns had won, which wasn't very often.
Nope,
but
probably
some
not.
years. Hold on, 2007 and 2020, there were years where it happened. And I'm driving home, and if I didn't hear him, I would just sit in the driveway until I heard those calls. So I miss him, and I wish I could hear them. And I also, like you mentioned, Nev and Casey. I didn't listen a lot to Casey. That was kind of when I was in college, that era. But I used to sit in the stands, and I would have my clunky Sony Walkman, and I would have those big furry headsets on, and I would listen to Nev in the stands. He was the best. My computer at school was very fortunate. I had one of those first PCs. When you turned my computer on, I had the startup sound. I reprogrammed my computer. It was Nev with a Eric Metcalf punt return.
Yes.
With it, and so when you booted up my computer, you heard Nev saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 touchdown Browns.
Oh,
Are you still working on a signature?
I've thought I don't have one. I think about that sometimes. If it comes naturally. I haven't. Like when I listen to highlights from other guys around the league, there are some guys that always use the same thing. I don't want to necessarily be that person because I actually want to describe the play, not just immediately go, okay, I need to reach for the home run club out of my golf bag and I have to swing that one now. I want to properly describe it. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
That's how you slice. That's how you slice the ball into the woods, Andrew. Sometimes when you go for that home run club too much.
You know, like there are some, no names, and certainly not Hammy, but there are some for whom, let's say baseball, they always have the same home run call. And I'm like, well, like where'd it go? Was it down the line? Was it to dead center? Did it barely scrape the wall? Was the center fielder, you know, did he have his hand out on the wall? Was he on the track? Was he looking up? Did he have a shot at it? Did some guy drop his beer when he caught it 10 rows deep? And I feel like there are, I'm not being the critic, but there are some people that just go to their bag and immediately swing their home run club and don't actually describe all that. I'm very much a work in progress. But no, Fred, to answer your question, I don't have one yet.
Andrew, I do have a quick question about your.
Yeah, go.
A question about your transition into this role, and obviously the tribute, and you guys, I think, have done such a spectacular job, just always paying tribute to Jimmy.
Thank you.
And you guys have done great. My question for you is, you know, we've gotten, I know Fred's gotten to know Nathan a little bit. We've gotten to know Nathan on my other show a little bit.
Awesome.
Just a great guy. I want to know how long you've known Nathan, how well you knew him coming in, because I got to tell you, I think the most impressive thing about your transition into the role is the chemistry that you and Nathan have developed. It feels like you guys have been like best friends since you were like 5 years old.
Yeah,
as you guys are out there, and that's what it sounds like every broadcast.
I love the guy, and I've said this countless times on and off the air, both to him and to others, is that he does a lot of work during the week. Obviously, he's got the show with Bo every day, CBD, but he is grinding every single day. He's an unbelievable professional. He is as prepared as anyone I've ever worked with. And there are weeks and days where I'm in the building a lot and weeks and days in which I'm not, in which I'm back home in California. And so I go back and forth, and he does so much extra work, and I'm beyond appreciative for it. And that work pays off. It always pays off on game day. And I do think we have good chemistry. I think it's getting better every game. To answer your question, we certainly knew each other, and we certainly had each other's phone numbers, and we certainly were friends, but we weren't that close. We met years ago where I think I was a guest on the show, or maybe the Browns were out here. I don't remember. Maybe it was at whatever. So we've always stayed in touch, and we've always been friends, but like really didn't know each other that well until we started working together. Obviously, when Jim had to take a couple of games off in 2023, and then we really got to know each other. But I love the guy, always have, and he makes my job easy, and I am grateful for him.
We talked about last week in the first half hour. Looking to this week, you got, what's kind of interesting to me, I want to get your take, is at the draft, there was a lot of talk that it was Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, the top two, and Mel Kiper, right to the draft, insisted that Sanders was the number one quarterback. We know how it happened. Ward gets picked number one overall. Sanders slides to the Browns in the 5th round when they traded up. That's pretty intriguing to me to see this matchup this week. I know they're both the quarterbacks. They're not playing each other, actually, but statistically, he's not much ahead of Gabriel or Sanders. What's your take on that matchup?
Yeah, it's a much different sample size, obviously, because Cam Ward has started the entire season. I was a fan of Cam Ward. If he fell to 2, let's say Tennessee took Abdul Carter, I think I would have been happy with Cam Ward. I think the Browns would have had a better situation to support him, certainly with their defense. They have more weapons. Say what you want about the receiving core, But with Quinshawn, with David Njoku, with Harold Fannin, with Dylan Sampson, there's a little bit more to work with, certainly. I find it both quarterbacks you saw. I know you were there today with Shedeur, but watching the Cam Ward press conference as well, they both really downplayed it today. They trained a lot. We've seen those videos of the two of them, Cam and Shedeur, training leading up to the draft, but they've both really downplayed that. I'm sure it means a lot to both of them to go out there and get this victory. As for the pre-draft process and how the league sees players as opposed to how the draft industrial complex sees players, I mean, that's an entirely different conversation. Shedeur had a really, really, really good college career. He wasn't the number 2 pick. He didn't go number 2, and he didn't go in the first round. He could have. I mean, certainly teams had that conversation. For whatever reason, Mel Kiper's exploding head aside, he fell to 144, and the Browns thought this is far too good to pass. We're not going to pass on this guy again at 144. You never know. Let's go for it. And then obviously the part you have to figure out how exactly to manage that quarterback room. I'm glad he's getting a shot, because I think we all agree, right? They need to see what they have. They need to see. You got 2 number 1 picks. Jimmy Haslam was dead on when he said during his training camp presser, we've got to know what we have with these 2 number 1s, because Dane Brugler is already dropping his mock draft today, guys, saying the Browns are trading up to 1.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and it's like, I just want to follow up on that. How, and there might not be an answer. How do you evaluate a quarterback that's playing on a bad team? Like people say, oh, Cam Ward's a bust, because he looks terrible or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you're trying to evaluate Shedeur Sanders on a team offensively challenged as well, with the line and the receivers, and same way with Dylan Gabriel. So it's got to really be, other than watching him every day in practice, I don't know how you make a decision to say, okay, we're going to stick with one or the other or both of them going ahead and not go after another quarterback in the draft.
There's a lot that goes into it. Yeah, and games obviously I think mean a little bit more than practice. I'll go Cam Ward first. There are throws in every game, every Titans game, where I go, wait, what? Rewind that Cam Ward makes. Every single week there are throws you're like, wow. Like a second level layered throw over a linebacker on a crosser, or a deep out cut or seam ball where he is putting it in a window this big. And then there are plays. Now he's really cut down to the turnovers. I think he's gone 5 straight games without an interception. I don't know about the fumbles. So he's cut down to those mistakes. That shows progress to me. That shows he's learning to me. But you also have to take into account that offensive line is bad and he doesn't have a lot of weapons. There were people that I thought were far, far, far too quick to write him off after the first couple of weeks. I mean, like, what are we doing, people? He's a rookie. Look what Troy Aikman had as a rookie and what that record was.
Peyton
Manning. I mean, we are in such a rush to pass judgment on rookies, but especially on quarterbacks. No one has any patience anymore. Coaches get fired. Brian Callahan got fired. GMs get fired. Teams have decided they have to win in this 3-year, not 5-year rookie contract window, but 3-year, because after 3 years, guys want to get paid. So, like, pump the brakes. With Shedeur, I thought there was a lot of good in the first game. There was some good in the second game, but I will lean on guys like Chase Daniel, who played the position, or Jay Gruden, who coached the position, who all point out, hey, there were throws there that he could have made. There were windows that were open. There were throws that are NFL open where you got to just pull the trigger. And I think Shedeur, if you kind of peel back the layers, said that today on the podium. He used the trust word. He said, I got to trust it a little bit more. I got to build that trust. I think that was his way of saying, hey, I'll see it next time. Like, I could see on tape, without putting words in his mouth, that there were throws there to be made. Got to show him some grace. It's game. It was game number 2. And I think, by the way, that grace needs to be shown to Dylan Gabriel as well, or any rookie quarterback.
This is why you're one of the best, Andrew, because it's a perfect transition into my next question. You didn't even know what it was. I was going to ask you, Andrew, and Fred, same thing. There's the on the field evaluation that we are doing week in and week out. And whether we're too harsh or too not harsh or whatever, it never is going to fit what everybody wants. But then there's the off the field. And when I listen to Shedeur Sanders, at least up front, he strikes me as the kind of guy that always wants to take accountability for what's going on.
Absolutely.
He is constantly talking about how he did something wrong, how he wasn't seeing things right. He's never really throwing it at anybody else. And I think he said, what did he say this week that I was like, man, it just always feels like he critiqued himself on when they get behind and they get in situations, he only wants to make the big plays. He critiqued himself in the interview, saying he only wants to look down the field. He only wants to make the big plays, and that's getting them out of the flow of offense. When you hear, and you know everything that got said about this kid in the process, and he fell to the fifth round, and a lot of people had reasons why that happened, and a lot of people were making assumptions that it was off field or whatever. When you hear the kid talk as a kid, as a rookie, and Fred, you've been around for a long time, but the accountability that he takes when he talks, it doesn't mean it's going to translate on the field, and that's ultimately what's going to have to happen. But man, he just always seems to say the right thing, doesn't he?
Fred, you go first.
Well, I think, his bringing up, he's been around this, nothing's too big for him. But I agree. I mean, he gets kind of a rap, I think, that he is a malcontent or whatever. He's one of the most likable young men I've been around. He's always smiling. He does take accountability. Any word he said gets parsed, as it will.
Correct.
But overall, I think that he gets it, that he has a lot to learn, and he's trying to do that. And so I think if given time, he's got a chance, to be the guy that the Browns are looking for. It's just so hard. And like you said, in this microwave world, we need to know now. And you got 5 games to show what you can do.
I agree with you, and I think he has shown really good accountability. He's charming. Yeah, he could be quiet sometimes, but when you sit down and he opens up, he really could be charming. I've told this story before. So when I worked at NFL Network, I didn't work with his dad very often because Dion usually works Sundays in the studio when I was at DirecTV for my other job. So I didn't know Shedeur. Like I got to know a lot of the kids, the families of my coworkers, but didn't really know Dion's kids. I never met him because I was never there when he was there on Sunday. So when I came in for rookie minicamp and all the rookies were there the week after the draft, I did an interview with Shedeur for like 15, 20 minutes and introduced myself. I'm like, hey, I used to work with your pops. We never met, and he kind of looked at me funny. And then we talked, made some small talk. And then when the camera went on, he blew me away. He was as charming and affable and introspective and in a weird 22-year-old way, wise. I loved him. He was charming. And I do think he's been accountable. If you go watch, and yes, I did watch it, his brother does their YouTube channel and their videos. Can't remember the name of the channel, but people know what it is. And they had the video of the family sitting around having Thanksgiving dinner in Cleveland. And his brother was saying grace. It said something like, pray for Shedeur getting 300 yards or something like that on Sunday. And he cut him off. Shedeur did. And he was like, no, win. He goes, no. And Shedeur get 400 yards on Sunday. He goes, no, win.
Yeah,
win. And that was their little bit going back and forth. But yeah, he meant it. Like he was going, no, I don't want this on camera. Like, no, we got to win Sunday. And I do think that's him. Kid just wants to win like anyone else.
Well, and I think just guys, I think this kind of also leads us into the kind of one of the bigger stories of the week was, the unfortunate thing when there's cameras everywhere and you're in a heated game is sometimes you're going to catch things on the sideline, and the cameras caught a heated situation on the sideline between Jerry Jeudy and between Shedeur Sanders, where Jerry Judy's in the midst of a very difficult season that he hasn't played well, but also he feels like he's open and they're not getting the ball. There's just a lot of frustration boiling over there. And you saw it happen on the sideline. Since then, we've heard from Jerry. We've heard from Shedeur. What did you guys think when you heard on the aftermath of that? Is there any story to it, or is this just a normal thing that happens?
Jerry's excuse me, guys. Jerry's beyond frustrated. There are times where he's open where clearly neither of the three quarterbacks who has started has gotten him the ball. And there are times where they get him the ball and he drops it. He still is tied for the league lead with 9 drops with Brian Thomas. So all of the above can be true. That frustration boiled over. They both buried it today. I'll lean on my guy, Steve Smith, another former NFL Network colleague. He posted a video today. And listen, Steve had a temper. Right.
Yeah.
Steve could blow up a little bit. He had one quarterback in Carolina he loved and one that I don't know. Mm-hmm. But he made the video today and he said, guys, this is nothing. This is nothing. And he has not been the biggest Jerry Jeudy fan. There was that incident on the Thursday night game.
Yes.
Whatever game it was a bunch of years ago in Denver, where Steve said what he said about Jeudy. This was him going, I know you think I'm going to rip Jerry Jeudy. This really wasn't a big deal. This happens all the time. It means more because it was caught on camera with Shedeur and the fact that the Browns are losing and that Jerry's having a bad season. It's great talk show fodder. It certainly wasn't comfortable, but I don't think it's something that they can't move past.
Yeah, I've seen that for many years. It just isn't. You never would have seen that before the instant camera and everything being followed. And probably they have a camera following Shedeur because of his popularity.
That's called good directing.
And, unless I was in the stands with binoculars 30 years ago watching that, nobody would know about it. But yeah,
I don't even know. Do you guys know? And full disclosure, I've watched the All-22. I haven't watched the TV copy yet. I normally do, but by this point, do we know when in the game that shot, when they aired that shot, was it after the missed deep ball in the first quarter?
No, I think it was later than that.
Later. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
I didn't really hear if it was on the network broadcast or it was some I don't know.
I think it was on the CBS broadcast. I think.
Yeah, I didn't see it because I'm, like you, sitting in the stadium, and I didn't watch it again. But yeah, they both said it's behind them, no big deal. Happens all the time. So we'll see with that. Andrew, what would you like to see the rest of the season to feel like this team is kind of heading in the right direction?
Sure.
I remember, I've been around long enough to remember Bernie's rookie year, and they ended up, when he took over, they finished 8-8, but you knew that team was on their way.
Well, that team made the playoffs and had a lead in the second half against the Dolphins on the road.
Yep. But yeah, they should have won that game. But even if they wouldn't have made the playoffs at 8-8, you felt like this team is on their way. Now, I'm not saying this team you're going to feel like is on their way to the AFC Championship, but heading in the direction, what would that entail looking at the rest of the way?
It's a great question. What I would want to see, like a short list, I would love Miles to get the sack record. I think there's a chance he gets it. I think he gets it this week, to be honest with you. I truly do. He needs 4. I think he can get that this week. That would be absurd, but it's doable. I would love to see Shedeur continue to play well. The offense continue to score points. They're officially still in it. If they lose to the Titans, obviously they're out of it. That's their elimination scenario this week. It's what makes all the close calls against, whether it be the Vikings or, the game in New York with the Jets, the Bengals, week 1, this past week, where the scoreboard wasn't close, but without the special teams mistakes, the game would have been close.
Yes.
You look at the standings and you say, what if, because this defense is good enough to keep winning games in January. Forget about winning them now in early December. I want some clarity on the quarterback situation, Fred, to answer your question, and that would include Shedeur playing well. I know a lot of people lost their mind today over the Deshaun thing. There's no guarantee he's going to play. The guy's generally liked by his teammates. He's worked hard. Let him practice. That's okay. If Shedeur Sanders plays well the next couple of weeks, there isn't going to be a Deshaun conversation. This is just my opinion, one man's opinion. If Shedeur plays well and you're like, all right, this is the guy, keep playing him. Deshaun's not seeing the field. There'd be no reason to play him if Shedeur plays well. So I'd love to see that, not to keep to prevent Deshaun from playing, but because it means positive things for Shedeur. You saw 6 games with Dylan Gabriel. If Sanders plays well and gets 6 games here, that to me is a fair apples to apples comparison, and you will have a far clearer picture heading in to the offseason and the draft. Like, people say they want world peace in 2026. What a world, and I do too, for the record. But what a world it would be if somehow, let's say it's Shedeur, like, you've got a quarterback, and you can go use those 2 first-round picks on a wide receiver and a tackle. Wouldn't that be an amazing world?
That's exactly would be a dream, to get a guy in the 5th round. That's, I guess, what I'm saying. It's hard to define what he would have to look like to make you feel he is the guy.
I don't know. Yeah, like anything else, you know it when you see it. Like a relationship, it's like, oh, yeah, I know it. All right. Yep. I mean, easy for me to say I'm, 51 and single again, but that's another issue for another time. But you know what I'm saying.
It's the 49ers are a much better team, obviously, than the Raiders.
But I overlooked
the
them. I didn't want to buy that they were good. I thought everyone's hurt on their defense. They had a short week, a cross-country flight, and a Monday night, and it's not whatever. That's my fault.
Well, the Browns, what I'm saying is, played pretty well.
Yes.
I'm saying I wanted to see Sanders against this team. This is, hopefully the weather is not a factor, that he could just light it up. If he could go out and light it up,
it'd be great.
That, I think, would, no matter who the opponent is, would really kind of get some wind in the sails and maybe give some momentum for the rest of the year, and maybe have a breakout moment regardless of the opponent.
So I'm looking at the forecast. We're looking at cold, but no, I know it could change on the lakefront every 5 seconds. Let's see. Temp range will, with the wind chill, feel between 16 and 29. Love it. So yeah, I mean, cold, but clear, hopefully, and the weather shouldn't be a factor. The Titans really aren't that good. There is the opportunity here with the Bears. The Bears force a lot of turnovers. Overall, their defensive numbers aren't great, but they're a winning team. They're a first-place team as we sit here tonight. The Bears, the Bills, the Steelers, I mean, you play well against those teams, the questions will answer themselves. They're not, I mean, that's a tough stretch, but hey, it's there for the taking. You want to rise to the occasion? It would be an amazing and welcome thing to see.
Well, almost the best case scenario is if you feel like you're seeing progress out of Shedeur, and you go into next year thinking we just want to see more. Maybe we're not 100% sold, but we want to see more. It's almost the best case scenario that maybe you get a couple wins, and you maybe there's a lot of really bad teams. You maybe put yourself out of the conversation of, well, man, those top couple quarterbacks are going to be out of there before you're even on the board. You don't want to just reach for a guy. It almost might be a good situation unless you're really sold on one of those two guys.
You could be. I mean, and who comes out also?
Right.
Dante Moore in Dane Brugler's new mock draft one that we referenced earlier. Dante Moore may go back to school. A lot of people think he's going back to Oregon. Ty Simpson at Alabama. I mean, who knows what the next month in the playoff brings him?
Yes.
He may go back to school. A year ago right now, we all thought Drew Aller was going to come out.
Yes.
Penn State went on a great run. Medina's Drew Aller. One game difference, he might have come out. He might have been a Brown. I mean, who knows?
Right.
This conversation would have been different. Now he's coming back from a broken ankle, and who knows where his draft stock lands next year. I'm not saying the Browns are taking him. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that the quarterback conversation a year ago today was a lot different than what it ended up on that third Thursday in April.
It always seems to do that, even at the time of the draft. One of the reasons the Browns, made the trade, 2026 was supposed to be year of the quarterback.
Right.
As you said, there was at that time, 6 to 8 projected first round. Almost all those names aren't in
Gone.
the mix this year. It's like that a lot. I remember when a guy named Matt Barkley stayed at USC. They said by staying in college, he'll be the number 1 pick next year. I think he got drafted in the 4th round by the Eagles. You know, that stuff always happens. And the guys they're talking about now, I don't think they were talking about, you know, even draft day. You know, the Mendoza kid and Moore and some of these guys weren't even in the picture. So you're right. It changes. The best thing Sanders could do, close the door by going out and winning some games, take them, you know, and then show that he can at least be the guy to start next season.
I would love to go on that ride. Let's go on that ride.
Andrew, just real quick. Just real quick before we let you out of here, I want to go back to something you said earlier. And I want people to understand how ridiculous it is what you said, and I mean that in a flattering way, to Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
You think Myles Garrett has got a real good chance that he could break this sack record this week?
Well, I mean, he's had a 4-sack game this year. He's had a 5-sack game this year.
I don't know that I've ever we've watched Michael Strahan, we've watched with JJ Watt and the Bosa's and like Dwight Freeney. I don't know that I've ever seen a season with a guy like this where it's like, yeah, I don't think he's going to have any problem getting 4 sacks in this game. That's outrageous.
It's still statistically a long shot, but it really isn't because he's that good. So when all is said and done, it's hard to keep going truly at this pace, but if he has an average last 5 games, right? 5 games. He's going to shatter every record. Honestly, I think the 22.5 is a fait accompli. I think the one that you really need to look at, I think he has 28 TFLs right now, tackles for loss. The all-time record is 39, set by JJ Watt in his 2nd season in Houston. I think he did 39 twice. That speaks to his run defense. I don't know that he's going to get to 39, but Myles touched on it last week, and I spoke to Kevin Stefanski about it Sunday morning on the pregame show. That 39 means a little bit more because that tells you that you're the all-around player, not just the guy that goes straight up the field to try to get the quarterback. And if he could get that and the sack record, it would be the single best defensive season for a defensive end in history.
And we're watching it. We're watching it live.
You think they'll break in like the home run record?
Yeah. Have Craig Sager run around the bases with him. Would be
yes.
Let's do it.
I love that.
Rest in peace.
Andrew, my very last question, Fred, I'll let you have the last word. My very last question, as somebody who follows you on the socials and TikTok and all that, my very last question is more of a personal thing. Do you really think it's appropriate, Andrew, as the voice of the Cleveland Browns? And I'm calling you out a little bit here.
Please.
Do you really think it's appropriate of you to be taking videos of you walking on some nice beach out in California while we're over here freezing our butts off in Cleveland?
I'm not here all the time. There have been plenty of weeks where I'm in the building there. And I'm going to be in the building in December plenty during the week as well because of all these home games. But yes, I have, to answer your question, I have thought about it, especially like on days or weeks like this where I realize the weather in Northeast Ohio is bad. I was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I get it. Yeah, I get it.
It's all right. You deserve it. Take your walks on the beach. It's fine.
Okay. You guys all
Andrew, with me. Really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us, and love seeing you around the building, chit-chatting with you and seeing you at the games. And we'll see you Sunday, if not before.
You got it, guys. On that note, stay warm, and we'll see you Sunday.
We'll save a little cold for you, buddy. We'll save a little cold for you.
I'm sure it'll still be there when I get back.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
You got it. Good night, guys.
Thank you.
How about Andrew Siciliano, radio voice of the Cleveland Browns, and he's doing a great job again. Loved the stories. They've done a phenomenal job with the Jimmy D tributes, and I really did mean that. I think the way he has built and developed a chemistry with Nathan Zagura and Gerard Cherry. I should have thrown Gerard in there as fast as he had. I always feel like we're blessed here in Cleveland with just this nonstop carousel of just great radio broadcasters for all of our teams, whether it's Tom Hamilton over there. It was Joe Tate forever. Now it's my buddy Tim Alcorn, who is doing the state championship game with me tomorrow. So I'll be with the radio voice of the Cavaliers tomorrow, Avon versus Cincinnati Anderson down there at Canton, or whether it's obviously Jim Donovan and now Andrew Siciliano. It's just great. It's awesome. We have a great history of great broadcasters here, and Andrew's just the next in that line.
Yeah, can't say enough. I mean, I've worked with some. I go back to, I didn't work with Gib Shanley, but somebody mentioned him. That was what I remember. The Quarterback Club was on Wednesday nights at 7:00. And only time you saw really highlights of the Browns games, black and white TVs. Oh, there's the play. But he was great. And then the guys that they've had since, and it was great to have Andrew on. And next week, we have Joe Reedy, Associated Press. They did some realigning. He took over for Tom Withers, and he's the beat writer. He's covering the Bengals and the Browns, so he's got the whole state. And in between, he also has the Ohio State Buckeyes. So he's going to have all kinds of stuff to talk about after that Indiana Ohio State game this week. And so Joe Reedy, tune in next week. We'll talk about what happened with the Titans and look ahead to the Bears game, and we're down the home stretch, but we're going to finish strong, folks. Thanks for checking us out every week, and we'll bring it all the way through.
Speaking of the Buckeyes, I do want to give a shout out to Garage Beers. That's coming up at 9:00 as we wrap things up here on Inside the Browns Beat, and we've got an old school, but a big name, Ohio State Buckeyes former player Jonathan Wells, running back from the late 90s. And I think his last year was Jim Tressel's first year. And we thought it was really appropriate to have Jonathan Wells on because Jonathan Wells was part of a team in Jim Tressel's first year that broke a long losing streak at Michigan for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And he had a huge game in that game. And Ohio State, obviously, this last week broke a losing streak to Michigan in Michigan. And so who better to talk about it with than Jonathan Wells? He'll be on with us. Plus we'll talk Browns and Blue Jackets and Cavs and so much more. So come back at 9:00 for Garage Beers. Last order of business for us, just our thank yous. First of all, again, big thank you to Andrew Siciliano. Make sure you tune in. I know we love to watch the Browns, but do yourself a favor. Maybe mute the TV every once in a while and listen to Andrew, Nathan, Gerard. Those guys do such a great job. But big shout out to Andrew Siciliano for jumping on with us from out there in California and talking a little bit of the Browns. Big shout out to the OBR. The Orange Brown Report is the oldest, largest Browns coverage site in all of Cleveland. So get over to the OBR.com, hit subscribe, and become part of the best Browns community in all of Cleveland. And whether you're watching us on YouTube, Twitch, just make sure before you go, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and we appreciate you. I do, on that note, want to give a special thank you and a special shout out. This came up earlier, and I meant to call it out earlier, but I'm going to call it out now. How about our buddy E. Gillen 1 over on Twitch has just subscribed for 52 months in a row. We're going on 6 straight years. 5 straight years. Sorry, that's bad math. We're going on 5 years. Okay, I never claimed to be a math professor. Don't give me any crap about it. But we're going on 5 straight years of subscribing over there on Twitch for E. Gillen. So you're the MVP of the show, E. Gillen. Appreciate you for your continued and never-ending support of the OBR. But again, thank you to oh, okay. All right. Trying to give E. Gillen something nice. And here comes Pat Shea, 52 months in a row. All right, Pat, we'll give you love too. Co-MVP, 52 months in a row. But again, thank you, everybody, for joining us live here tonight. That's going to do it for Inside the Browns Beat. For Ian McBride in the background, who was doing a good job just kind of producing and making us look good. That's Fred Greetham. I am Michael Keefe. Tune in next week for Inside the Browns Beat. I'll see you in an hour on the Garage Beers podcast. But until next week, see you later and cheers, everybody.
See ya. Thanks for watching.